Welcome to a new RTO industry program called LEAP. My name is Dan Fisher, and until recently, I owned Majik Rent-to-Own, a 13-store rent-to-own chain based in Pennsylvania. It's my privilege to help lead this leadership education advancement program, which is designed to help develop leadership skills within the RTO industry. Each month, we will have a new leadership topic via Zoom or live during the TRIB and RTO World meetings. Any current or aspiring leaders in your company are welcome to attend, and while every month participation is encouraged, the lessons are designed to stand on their own. So someone can start at any time, and missing a particular month doesn't impact your development. The sessions will also be recorded and available for download and use at your company level. This is a re-recording of the presentation I did at the recent TRIB Show in Atlanta. Whether you're a member of a team or the leader of a team, everything I'm sharing today can be applied at any level within your company. I'm going to speak mostly about the team dynamic, but hopefully you'll see how an individual could use these concepts as well. When we discuss leadership topics, so much of what we hear sounds like common sense. We might say, well, duh, when we hear it. But what you find is that it's not about knowing the information, it's about acting on it, executing it. I'll guess that many of you have left one of your company meetings or a TRIB show or RTO World show with pages of notes, your mind buzzing with dozens of great ideas. When you shared all those great ideas with your coworkers, did you see anything like this? Uncontrollable eye rolls? Maybe comments like, I guess Dan was at the TRIB show again, watch out. I don't know about you, but 6 months later, I would be at the next show, hear more great ideas, and realize that I never really implemented the ones from the last show. Deja vu all over again. Today's topic is about laser-focused execution of your most important ideas. There's going to be 5 disciplines we're going to discuss. The first is focused on what's most important right now. Number 2, act on the lead measures. Number 3, keep a compelling scoreboard. Number 4, create a cadence of accountability. And number 5, reinforce success through recognition and rewards. Starting with discipline 1, focus on what's most important right now. I want to start by discussing a little bit about your daily whirlwind. Can you think about what I mean when I talk about your daily whirlwind in a rent-to-own store? Do you have any thoughts on what I mean by that? Some examples that I had were a customer walking in, or calling, or texting, or leaving a website lead. They're pretty important, right? Pretty urgent. Maybe a flat tire on the delivery truck. How about Mrs. Jones, who just skipped to New Jersey with your rental merchandise? Have you made all the collection calls for the day? Mr. Johnson says he's moving out. We've got to come get his fridge right now. And then, of course, you have Dan's 36 ideas from the recent TRIB show. Have you ever been to the scene of a house fire? Or did you have the chance to observe an emergency room, even if only on TV? Did you notice how everyone is hustling and bustling around, getting stuff done like a well-oiled machine? Everyone has a singular focus on saving the house, or in this case, saving the victim. If you've ever had an emergency in your business, hopefully you've experienced the same thing. Everyone rallies together to solve the emergent problem, whether it's a flood, a fire, a break-in, or COVID-19. Everyone in the room has experienced some form of this. When there is no emergency, it's human nature to fall back into our old habits and get consumed by the whirlwind. So if we focus on one most important goal over the next 3 to 6 months and treat it as if it's almost a fire, almost a flood, almost COVID-19, at Majik, we found that we could achieve just about any realistic goal. Whatever it was, it became our rallying cry. It was all about the focus, 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 focus. Can't say it enough. For the sake of this discussion, I'm going to talk about a single store situation, but this scales to entire companies as well. We'll call this store number one. Let's assume that it's January 1st and store number one currently has 680 active customers with an aggressive end of the year customer goal of 750 customers. Their top sales specialist was just promoted to a different store. Any thoughts on what might be the most important goal for them over the next few months? You might be thinking, hiring and training a new sales specialist. Maybe retaining customers through quarter one. We all know that's challenging, right? Or you might have thought of something else. But who decides? One of the most important aspects of choosing the rallying cry is including the team in the process. It's not a vote, but it's about asking their opinions, including them in the process, and then deciding based on all available information. In this situation, I would encourage the store manager to ask the team what they feel the top priorities are, and then discuss it with the district manager or the company owner and come up with a decision, making sure they share that decision with everyone involved. We found that when a person offers their opinion, even if we choose a different direction, they feel like they've been heard and then they can buy into the decision that wins the day. What if this was our store? Sometimes the primary goal is as simple as fixing the storefront up, replacing some lighting, or upgrading our RTO merchandise. But let's assume that our store looks like this. We have a great sales specialist who is stepping into that lead role. So we decide that our company goal, or our store, I should say, our store primary goal is to gain a net of +1 customers during Q1. So we want to get to 681 customers by March 31st. Again, if you have rent-to-own experience, you know that that's a challenging task since we have a lot of payoffs that happen during that first quarter. Once the rallying cry is decided, we need to involve everyone in the plan for success. So what are we going to do at the store level marketing to add or retain customers, sorry, specifically? How about our sales specialists? How about our delivery specialists, our collection specialists? How about our store manager? Do we need anything from the home office? There must be a detailed plan for success for every role in the store or the company. So what happens is we add up each of these individual efforts and the whole team has a rallying cry to get to that 681 customers by March 31st. Just to give you a couple of examples of how to be specific, I'm going to use two examples. First, with sales specialists. Let's assume that after we discuss with our team what we think the sales specialist's most important goal could be, that we come up with a decision that we're going to challenge them to have payoff conversions of 33% during the first quarter. So that means that of every customer that comes in, 1 out of 3, we're going to make sure we send them home with something that same day or within a week after that. And for the collections team, again, the team decides together, we come up with the ideas, but the final decision is we're going to reduce pickups by 20% during the first quarter. So we're going to make sure we try and encourage customers to keep that product. Keep in mind, the whirlwind is still there. Sales specialists still need to do their sales specialist daily tasks and processes, the everyday things. But on top of that whirlwind, they're going to focus extra hard on improving payoff conversions. We'll talk more about how in a few minutes. The collection specialists, similarly, will be handling their daily whirlwind as well. They're going to do everything they normally do on a day-to-day, but their extra focus is going to be on saving customers by reducing pickups. So again, everyone on the team goes through a similar process. I just wanted to point out a couple examples to crystallize it for you. Understanding that your daily whirlwind hits you with pressing items all day, every day. If we want to move forward, improving our business, we have to understand that 36 new ideas aren't going to happen. But can we agree that if we focus on one important project, we can make it happen? I think we can. Discipline number 2 is acting on the lead measures. In order to talk about lead measures, we first have to introduce lag measures. It's a little tricky to explain, but I'm going to do my best. Lag measures are the numbers we typically talk about every day. Customer count, monthly potential rent, expired or late percentages, 90-day idle inventory, and you probably have 10 other ones that you talk about on a daily basis in your company. Lead measures are the tasks that we can track which influence the lag measures. As an example, if I say get more customers, you probably have some ideas of some tasks you could undertake to get some. You might say make some phone calls, talk to customers when they come in the store, or respond to website leads, or do some more advertising, maybe some more Facebook posts. All of those would be called lead measures. Lead measures influence lag measures. So if I make 100 phone calls, I'll likely get 10 potential sales and maybe one new customer. I've just impacted the customer count by making 100 phone calls. Hopefully that makes sense. As another example, think of the 6 points the Ravens earned here when they scored a touchdown on their way to defeating the Bengals in Baltimore this year. Then think of everything the Ravens had to do to achieve that touchdown. Specifically, this receiver who just caught a touchdown pass. He caught six balls during the game. Most would consider 6 receptions a good night. In a typical game, each team runs about 63 plays. So 63 plays, 6 caught balls. His lead measure is running 63 great routes. If he consistently does that, he's hoping to catch 6 balls. The 6 caught balls would be a lag measure, and in this case, one of them earned his team 6 points, also a lag measure. So that touchdown is also a lag measure. In case you're wondering about the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals reference, I wanted to use this example because a lot of the people in the room were from the Cincinnati area during my talk, and the Ravens won this game, and I'm a Ravens fan. All right. Getting back to the rent-to-own example, if we're focused on customer count, which is a lag measure, and we decided earlier that our rallying cry for the sales specialist to improve customer count is going to be improving payoff conversion to 33%, how do we make that happen? We know that it will help customer count, but it's ultimately not a lead measure because there's nothing we can do physically to change our payoff conversion. So we need to determine our lead measures, which will impact payoff conversion. Some examples of lead measures that would impact payoff conversion are shown here. We can have the manager speak to every customer who pays off at the time of payoff. We can send a handwritten note and best offer immediately if a customer doesn't convert, or we can drop off a gift basket along with our best offers. These are just 3 ideas I had. You might come up with different ideas for your lead measures. You might say, whoa, 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 stop the clock. Getting a touchdown is an action I can take, something I can physically do. So isn't it a lead measure? The answer is no, but I'm curious if you know why. Here's a hint. A lead measure doesn't have 11 guys trying to stop me. I can make 100 phone calls. I can 100% commit to making 100 phone calls. If I commit to 4 touchdowns, what might happen? The defense, right? You will not always be able to get a touchdown, no matter how hard you try. But what about the whirlwind preventing me from doing my 100 calls? So you might be thinking that, and you're not alone. I'm sure during our presentation, others were thinking that, and I'm sure as other people listen to this webinar recording, there's people thinking that. But you're going to have to wait until Discipline 4, and then hopefully it'll all be clear after that. But at this point, I'm hoping that everyone who's listening to this has a really good idea between lead and lag measures. And so we're going to move on to Discipline 3, keeping a compelling scoreboard. Have you ever seen a pickup soccer game or basketball game being played where the kids aren't keeping score and then they decide at some point to start keeping score? Did you notice any difference? I think you probably did. Most people notice that once the score is being kept, the competition level goes way up. And of course, everyone likes to win, right? So in a perfect world, your scoreboard might look like this, maybe 3, 4, 5 of these different measures where Your lag measure is there on the left, and then your lead measures, whether it's two, three, four of them, whatever there are on the right. We'll call this the Cadillac of scoreboards. There's a relatively easy to use tool called Microsoft Power BI that can help you with this with relative ease. But if you're not a tech savvy person and you don't have anyone who's remotely tech savvy in your company, Microsoft Excel is another choice. And finally, don't let the scoreboard methodology bog you down. The important part is keeping the score. If it's easiest for your team to just hand tally the number of calls being made, that's a perfectly fine way to start. It's important to be sure you're keeping track of the lead measures, usually more than one, for each lag measure. Again, most businesses have several. Your rallying cry goal is one of them. But your everyday goals are important too. Those everyday kind of whirlwind type goals. For example, store number one's rallying cry we talked about is customer count. So that's the rallying cry for the store. But we're also still going to track monthly potential rent. We're going to track those expired accounts. We're going to track inventory levels, all those things that you've always tracked. This particular sales specialist's rallying cry is payoff conversions. But that sales specialist still needs to track website conversions and many other measures, or at least a couple other measures, I should say. The important thing is keep it relatively simple. When I see this scoreboard on the screen now, I think, wow, it's kind of a blur to me, right? I can't focus on anything. So for each person in the store, having a rallying cry and maybe two or three other important lag measures, that's great, but don't have 20, don't have 30. It just gets too busy and then it gets ignored. Create a simple, crystal clear cadence of accountability uh, is discipline number 4. So you should have a 20 to 30-minute meeting every week at the exact same time. And it's going to be a very, very simple meeting. Report on commitments, review the scorecard, and then make a clear plan and commitments for the following week. At the beginning of each meeting, for example, I simply report what I committed to last week and whether I accomplished it or not. For example, I might have agreed that every customer who pays off an agreement last week was going to speak to a store manager. So when I report that 12 payoff customers last week, we had 12 payoff customers last week and only 9 of them spoke to the manager. What did I learn since I didn't win? I failed to have a follow-up system for those 3 customers who were not able to speak to the manager in the moment. So for the coming week, I'm going to commit to have the manager engage with a minimum of 75% of the customers in person. And the remaining 25%, I'm going to commit to attempting to contact them 4 times in the next 24 hours. And if I am not able to get them to convert in that time, I'm going to send a handwritten note with our best specials on that note. Scorecards typically show patterns. We need to have a planned commitment to address red and yellow items. Someone needs to own those problems with solutions. The solution can't be, we're going to try harder. Note that we've improved a lot of our yellow to green between these 2 weeks here, but there are still 2 red issues. Our website conversions are still lagging because we haven't been able to contact the website leads within 30 minutes, and we haven't been making 4 attempts in 24 hours, which was our commitment on this scorecard you can see. So, for example, a way I might solve this particular problem is I'm going to commit to have my sales team set an alarm for every 15 minutes. And someone on that sales team has to shut off the alarm and then check all web leads right then every 15 minutes. So that way I know I'm contacting everyone within 30 minutes and I'm going to make sure I have 4 attempts in the 24 hours. So that would be my commitment for this particular fix between this week and next week. And then, as I said just a minute ago, schedule it. So whatever you commit to, put it on your schedule or set an alarm, like I mentioned. A commitment means it will be done next week. It's unacceptable to come back next week and have forgotten about it or not completed the task. It is possible to learn that you incorrectly committed to something, as in my earlier example where I committed the manager to talking to every payoff customer when that's really not possible, right? If we know a rent-to-own store, we know that the manager may be maybe at lunch, for example. They may be dealing with another customer on an important issue, and they may just not be able to talk to every single customer. So I overcommitted, and I learned that I'm going to commit the manager to talk to the vast majority of them, but I have to have a backup plan for the ones that the manager isn't able to talk to. Again, don't let the whirlwind overtake those commitments. So part of scheduling might be if I say every day at 10:30 a.m., I'm going to take a certain action. I can't commit to that unless I have a backup plan, right? If I'm the store manager and every day at 10:30 I say I'm going to do something, well, what if an irate customer storms in? What if there's a flat tire on the delivery truck? Well, I have to have a backup plan. I have to say to my assistant manager or someone else that's trusted in the store, hey, at 10:30 a.m., I need you to handle all problems no matter what for a half hour while I take care of this. So don't let the whirlwind overtake those commitments. Because remember, the whirlwind's still there. There's only one way to avoid it, and that's to schedule, 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 and then plan that backup, as I mentioned. Plan the backup. Even if you have it scheduled, the whirlwind can take over if you don't have a backup plan. Schedule your focus. Now, I think we already saw this slide, right? And that's because I wanted to remind you of it. Every single week, same time, same location, whether it's in person or on Zoom, faithfully every week, can't be missed. This is so important, this cadence of accountability. Now, you'll notice no matter what you do, that after about 90 days, most teams start to wander and lose focus. So kind of letting that whirlwind take back over a little bit. At Majik, our leadership team would schedule kind of a refresh every 90 days. Now, on our team, it was a relatively large team. We would take a day or two and do strategic planning. And part of that would include this refocusing on the whirlwind, kind of recommitting to our rallying cries. I should say recommitting to our rallying cries and getting the whirlwind out of that. So we would do that as part of our 1 or 2 day planning meeting. If this is a new process to you, I would recommend every 30 days revisiting, spending a couple of hours with your team and just making sure that the rallying cries are the correct ones. So there's no harm in saying, all right, we tried this rallying cry. We figured out that it's not the right rallying cry. Let's shift a little bit. And the first few months, you might be learning and learning and learning more than you are winning and winning and winning. The key is getting better at this every time. So I might recommend as a new team doing this, do it every month. Again, consistently revisit every month. And then once you feel like you've got it down pat, then every 90 days at a minimum, you want to revisit this. So discipline 5 is about reinforcing success through recognition and rewards. Rewards don't have to be expensive gifts or prizes. A sincere thank you, feeling like their opinions matter, knowing that you, as the owner or their manager, recognize their contributions towards achieving goals, that's a huge first step. However, if you're having financial success, sharing in that success by offering incentive plans, profit-based bonuses, rewards for extraordinary achievements also goes a long, long way. And never forget how much people appreciate food. So food as a prize is always a winner. So just as a reminder, there's a little more after this, but as a reminder of what we went over, focus on what's most important. Act on those lead measures because they influence the lag measures that we care about. Keep a compelling scoreboard. Make sure it's simple and clear and tells us the score because people like to see the score. They compete more readily when there's a score at stake. Create a cadence of accountability. Reinforce success through recognition and rewards. Now, during my presentation, my live presentation, there were two questions that came up, or two comments, and one of them was just a comment about, our company always said, just get more rentals. And the person who commented on that said that he appreciated that this gives you a strategy for getting more rentals. Instead of us telling people to get more rentals, this gives us the idea of those lead measures that can help us get more rentals. So it's super important to have those lead measures in place if we want to get more rentals. And the second comment was a really good one as well. And he actually mentioned almost the opposite, where he said they focus too much on the tasks and they forget about talking about the scoreboard and having a scoreboard that's visible and sharing why we're, in other words, do 100 phone calls. Don't worry about what it means. Do 100 phone calls. Well, it's super important to do those 100 phone calls because that gets you more rentals, which gets you more customers, which gets you more profits in the long run. So that's, again, this framework works so well for that reason because it really gives you the beginning to the end, tells you how to get those end results that you want. So just remember, to have success with a system like this, where you're trusting people to offer their best suggestions, your team is holding each other accountable during those weekly meetings. You need to have a culture of trust and mutual respect so that everyone feels safe when they're sharing ideas. One of the reasons the LEAP program exists is to help build all aspects of leadership: trust, culture, results. So I hope you'll continue joining us each month. These are typically going to be interactive Zoom meetings, so you'll be able to ask questions and we'll answer those during those Zoom calls. If you want to learn more about this specific topic, my friend Gary Fairman first introduced me to it by recommending the Store 334 video on YouTube. If you just Google Store 334 video, or go to YouTube, I should say, and plug that in, you'll find a video that looks much like that. And it's a great video that really introduces these concepts again. And the book is called Four Disciplines of Execution. And then, of course, if you've heard me talk before, you know that my favorite leadership book is called The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni, and he talks about much of what I talked about as well in this discussion. So join us the second Tuesday of every month. March 11th, 2025 is our next meeting, 3 p.m. Eastern, and we will be sending out emails very regularly promoting these LEAP programs. But mark off your calendar, March 11th, 3 p.m. We'll have a special guest, Mike Tissett, who will be sharing the topic of the commitment continuum, helping you to help others on your team become better team members. So again, a great topic. Mike's always great to listen to. I hope you join us for that. I'll leave this up here for a few seconds. If you have any questions for me or comments, I'm always appreciative of any feedback that you can provide. So thank you for listening. We'll talk to you soon.